Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Strategic Planning and Economic Development Committee of the Whole, number 2, September 3rd, 2020. Councillor Flaherty advised us late this morning that she would not be here, so I will be chairing in her absence. And Councillor Lucasy also advised that she would not be here today. So, moving on to the adoption of the agenda. We will be removing 5B, City Strategic Planning and Setting Priorities discussion, which was going to be a verbal led by the chair, Sheila Flaherty. And we are adding a delegation, the cannabis license application, Martin Barb, and Patricia Payton should be dialing in. They haven't as of yet. And they'll just be online in case anybody has any questions for them. Can I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Shepherd, seconded by Akumenik. All in favor? Unanimous. Great, thank you. We have no minutes. Is the declaration of interest. Does anybody have an interest to declare? Nope. Moving on. The delegates are not here. We'll move on to deferred business and tabled items. 4A, which is cannabis license review update. Jeff, did you want to speak to that?
Thank you, Councillor Brewster. This item is back as there was some questions regarding some of the points that were presented at the last Strategic Planning and Economic Development Committee of the Whole meeting on August 13th, 2020. During our last meeting, I had presented that the current applicant has a business license for a cannabis retail store, and that is not correct. The Government of Nunavut requires potential applicants to have a valid business license for the purpose of the application. However, it does not need to have a business license for this actual retail store as of yet. So the license that was applied for with the application with the Government of Nunavut is just one of their current business licenses, which is fine on the government side. Secondly, after discussion with the property owner, there was sufficient parking on the land parcel that was in question from that meeting. The development permit will still be required to provide an updated traffic plan and change of intensity usage, as the existing lot will now service more people than it priorly did. I would like to also add that for additional security, the business owner had mentioned that they will be contracting security services to staff and monitor the entrance of the location to ensure minors do not enter the building. I know that was a point that was brought up during that meeting as well. The Strategic Plan and Economic Development Motion number 20-02 will be brought forward to the City Council meeting number 26 on September 8th, 2020, with your Strategic Planning and Economic Development Report from September 3, 2020. No new motion will be required for this.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Jeff. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Jeff? Mayor Bell, go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brewster. Not really about that, but during our feedback for consultation to the government, I would like to suggest that they change their ask of having a business license and have that as a cannabis business license, specifically for the sale of cannabis. Because right now you could be a candy store and apply for a cannabis license, and it seems kind of shady to me. So.
Thank you, Mayor Bell. Anybody else? Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you, Councillor Brewster. I definitely agree, Mayor Bell. For the purpose of the application, they're required to have just a business license once they've been approved for the cannabis retail store. If the nature of the business changes from the original application, they will be required to complete a new business license application as per our bylaw 859.
Thank you, Jeff. Go ahead, Councillor Stevenson.
Just as a comment to that, thank you, Deputy Mayor. As a comment to that, though, that's as per our bylaw, and the mayor was suggesting that it would be as per the guidelines of the GN, and I think that's still a good recommendation or suggestion. We don't get to decide what they do, but they ask for our suggestions. We should give it that it should be as per them as well, right? That they should be demanding that.
Thank you, Councillor Stevenson. Go ahead, Councillor Shepherd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't feel that any of the new information tonight is really material to our last decision, and I would propose that we just maintain the existing motion that was made at the last strategic planning meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. So there are three options that we can take. We can either rescind the existing recommendation, we can amend it, or we can keep the existing recommendation to bring to City Council for a motion on September 8th, as earlier stated. So any thoughts? Would people prefer to make any changes or just go forward with the existing motion? Councillor Nuttall?
Tajimangre disrupting civil department asi mungitwa upenon saram temna asi kadawiaklamni upenon tianama solo jola se okosna ukuditima tajimangre tokarle marigumayo.
Thank you, Councillor Nuttall. All right, I think we can move on then, unless Mayor Bell, go ahead.
No, move on, but I just wanted the motion read out so that it's in the minutes.
Sure. The motion will stand as the committee recommends to council that a letter of recommendation be forwarded to the government of Nunavut approving the request to locate a cannabis store at 1501 Federal Road, conditional upon approval of a development permit. And it will stand at that. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to new business. Amy has a city signage update. Go ahead, Amy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So as one of the items in the one of the projects in the city's council approved capital plan for this year was to develop signage for city facilities, city parks and spaces, promotional signage project. So what we have for you tonight is an update on that, as well as two options. Two different concepts are being presented to you tonight to review and hopefully to come up with a recommendation tonight. So there's a document in front of you that has the list of all of the different buildings and spaces that we would develop signs for. So we have a number of different categories for the signage. We have one category. So part of this project is to develop templates. So when we have new spaces or new buildings, we would then be able to use that template to that would match the other signs and just have a sign developed for that building. So the template would include build a sign that would be for the City Hall, our NATUC complex, and the Arctic Winter Games complex, and the size for that is 96 by 48. Non-public buildings, so buildings for operations like the garage and booster stations and water stations and all those things, and that would be 96 by 24. Two new cemetery signs, 96 by 36. The Ball Diamond, 96 by 30, and city playgrounds, 48 by, oh, I forget that one there, just a second. 48 by playgrounds, yeah, 48 by 20, so those are a bit smaller, and then we have some of the park signs at 48 by 20 as well. So we have provided you the list of the locations that we would like to install signage, and this is a really good idea to have proper signage in the city, so that these facilities are identified as city facilities. And it will improve the overall image of the city and assist residents and visitors in the city to identify the various buildings as well as parks, playgrounds, recreation facilities, and so on. So if you do have any questions about any of the signs, we could certainly talk about that right now.
Thank you, Amy. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Amy? Go ahead, Councillor Shepherd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Are these colors set in stone now? Has this been determined?
No, we can move on to the options. I'm just wondering if there's any questions about the actual sign, the names of the buildings, the signs that we have on the list. If anyone, sees anything on the list that they, want to bring up or they think maybe missed. There is one thing that I will mention of something that we've kind of proposed here is that on the road in the Plateau subdivision, there are 3 playgrounds, and they're generally referred to as, I don't know, like Plateau 2 playground, Plateau 3 playground, and so on, Plateau preschool playground. We have come up with some names here for those playgrounds in the Plateau. So we have one, the Ukalik Playground, Nanuk Playground, and Ukpik Playground. So that's kind of a liberty that we've taken here just to identify that as a different name other than, Plateau 2, Plateau 3. We're proposing that as part of this signage project. Other than that, all of the other names are the typical names that the buildings are called or are currently named. So I was just wondering if there's any questions on that part of the project first. Okay, great.
Do you want to see who's on the, or go ahead, Simon Nuttall, Councillor Nuttall?
Ila pia kitewing atuneta taseminga una yakarumyotai akune utakane pelegeta atiksindi takka kalula isumumata isumayaktua teme isumagiyebotakwa uqawsa siartengin kuninga pia magruata ikanungiyongiputa takuangunertu ati ima pia kitewtenik matakatine artigo teme yimutun tatung exibota.
Thank you, Councillor Nuttall. Are you referring specifically to the parks that Amy just mentioned renaming, or are you speaking to all of the signage?
Kuninga pingo apikaruni mukasakanga tunga mugore mungusbe kwaso ingikika temilata.
Amy, would you like to respond to that?
I could put forward that suggestion to the recreation team to consult with the public on that. We do have timelines for the project, so I would like to move fairly quickly, but I do understand the importance of consultation, of course. So we could ask the recreation team to do a consultation to name playgrounds. We could even look at naming all the playgrounds, something else, or animal names, or if the public, had some interest.
Thank you, Amy. Does anybody have any more thoughts? Councillor Akumenik, go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm saddened by the translations. They're gibberish. What is talililiutikiki? What is kakimakikitiki? What is kidokokikiu zingongingo? What is kingutangi lijuzinano? What is tangolulu kunilungam la saku? What are those? I think we have to be careful about translation. The vision of the Council is to be inspirational articulator, grounded in the culture of our people, where knowledge and investment are encouraged and family growth strengthened. This is an insult. That's terrible. Are we naturally dumb, or do we have to put effort in it?
I can clarify what you've got in front of you. Though the English and French is spelled out often when designers are showing concepts of mock-ups of potential signage or even of reports. They often, rather than actually putting in the wording, use gibberish to just display what a mock-up would look like. Though they didn't do that with the French and English, I can assure you that that is probably exactly what they did in this case. And these are not for public consumption. They are mock-ups for us to look at to see what the concept of the signs would look like. So if you look at concept number 1, for example, on the top right, the Parks and Recreation sign looks different from concept number 2 of the Parks and Recreation sign on the top right. So it's really just to show you what a sign would potentially look like with the proper wording. But we will definitely take that back to the designers to ensure that they use. It's usually ipsum datum. There's a group of letters that are put together that are meant to mock up looking like signage. So I can assure you that it was not a mistake, and nor was it meant to insult anybody. Go ahead, Councillor Nuttall.
Ila tukushitiar tusharautunga pikutuksimangitibin. Subrutana lamod upiha takru inuktitip stiarsimumad ngutakai linujini ninu sulo miksahangitiatimin tana tukshorajangmi ngutakai linujin ninu temelingi enuktit wale tana taksanga tikuminak 22 tana temelingi tuinaming matau titkangi inuktitu imanna taikene perosetilitra kisokakatenigo otamakua mukokijivit tammangitiarlutukisene peqattaquyuruassimagitta ullumi tammangitiartunik teima assuri atukkunneriaraata qanuitutring inu mitautugingillugu surlu pinguangimmat ukiortortuq tamanna mitautugiyunerpat ukiortortuq inungillu taimanna titeqqanik saqqequyingitiamaikkama taqqakkununga uqalemaqti uqtunut ajigingittimu surlu tusaqattaa laorsimagama makqa nuqqartarvit amuru assingit tit piugiangilluti taqqakkunanga taimanna piunersanik atuttiartaquyittuinnamun uqartunga taimaatuinna mitauteqalluta saqqiyaqaarrangittanta pinguasuungi kuraat ugani uqartuqarniarmat qauyumayuqqalerniarmat uka mitauteqaluinnerlutik sivaqattaartu imaiunerat taimaiumu tuinnertuga taakkuna.
Thank you, Councillor Nuttall. Go ahead, Amy.
Mamianak. I'm very sorry that the syllabics were a sample and not the actual Inuktitut language. I had thought it was I thought it was in Inuktitut, and I didn't check, and I'm sorry for that. But what Deputy Mayor Brewster said is correct. The designer must have inserted syllabics to show the design. But again, I do apologize and take responsibility for that. I should have checked, and I didn't. However, if I could draw your attention to the other sheet that is here, those are the names that will be on the signs. And the syllabics are there. The signs would be in 3 languages, Inuktitut first, English second, and French third. And so the translations have been completed, and they are here in front of you today. And those are the translations that would go on the signs, unless you indicated otherwise. And even if you would like to take it with you, and if had any other questions, certainly there's still time to make any changes that would be necessary. But if I may, we could move on to the concept design if you're comfortable with looking at that now.
Thank you, Amy, and I appreciate your apology. We accept it. Thank you. I think we can move on to discuss the designs. Thanks.
Okay, so there are 2 concepts for the different themed signs that we spoke about, Concept 1 and Concept 2. The designers use the colors that are identified as city colors that go with the city logo, and have provided these options for our consideration, for your consideration. If there is, a particular sign or that, you don't like, you like, say, like one concept, but you don't like a particular sign, shape, or color, or anything in that concept, that can certainly be changed. So I was hoping to get your feedback tonight as to the direction to go with the concept and any changes you might like to see.
Thank you, Amy. Does anybody have any feedback on the concept? Go ahead, Councillor Shepherd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just 2 things. First, when you look at Concept 1 and 2, the recreation facilities and the parks and rec, they're really dark with the black or the dark color being the main color. It'd be nice to see that lighten up just a little bit. And when it comes to the language, I would like to see Roman orthography in Inuktitut as well. As someone who's trying to learn Inuktitut, I think it'd be nice to have the syllabics and orthography. It gets busy, I know, but the trend seems to be that as the language moves forward, syllabics might be abandoned at some point in time as well. And I know for myself, it would really help to have the Roman orthography on there.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Akumelik, go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Amy, for apologizing for the error. I was thinking, because we have almost like 24-hour daylight and then we get 24-hour darkness, I would like to see some sort of contrast to reflect those lighting, much like Councillor Shepherd is saying, be more visual. I know it gets a little bit too busy when we add in Roman orthography, but people will question why we're not using Inuktitut and things like that, according to the Language Act, I think. So I like this idea. And concept 2, I like the concept 2, but there'll be issues. But I think if we stick enough to say that we're showing something, sometimes when we're driving by, we're looking at buildings, what buildings they are, and the signage is either very small or behind something, and that often confuses people. like the swimming pool, we have that the signage where the fish are on the back, not in the front where you drive. So I think we need to be careful about the location of the signage to attract, if we're going to try and attract and let the public know what buildings we are or what location we are in. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kumilik. Actually, Mayor Bell and I redirected somebody who was looking for the aquatic center after our meeting earlier this week. He was trying to enter into City Hall here, so that's an important point that we have the signage pointing towards, a natural front entrance. So are you saying you like concept number 2 in that? Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brewster. I will first admit my inability to know what's better. I really don't. I'm never good at any of this. But I will say in, I guess, support of Kyle, the city office buildings, both of those, where on this page kind of look, I don't know. Well, in either concept, but the city office buildings one. So the one with the white background, they on a white page they don't stand out. But don't forget, on a building, the building has color, so that white will be in contrast to that. So that'll be light in that case. And maybe we should have more of that, because you have to remember that most of these signs are going to go on buildings, so they'd be like in contrast to the color of the building as well. Limit of my design knowledge. Done.
Thank you, Councillor Stevenson. Go ahead, Mayor Bell.
Thank you. I don't particularly like changing signs for buildings. I think they should all be the same, part of our visual identity. And like you said, the city office buildings ones will pop very nicely. I'm not overly against the signs themselves, but if we are going to do it, they should all look the same. Like, it could be different colors, but they should all have one side that has the City of McKellar logo on it, all in the same exact way, and keep them all, like, they can be different sizes and different colors, but I think they all need to be the same side, same size, same sign. Thank you. But but that's, and I don't particularly like concept number 2 because I don't like the building one with the little loop thing.
If you like the rest of the
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Bell. Just if I can pipe in, as somebody who has a little bit of knowledge about this, I agree with you that branding is extremely important, and that if we're using our logo, we should use our logo as it is and not change it. And for me, on concept number 1, the city office building sign with our proper logo and a different background for that logo, I think is something that would be my preference for all of the signs, but in different sizes. Did I see somebody else's? And Councillor Natak, go ahead.
Nakatirok siwa yung takun. Una tagoye si ikaroy ay benga tanda number 1 mito kana tapa kikure mar na sikip kamagi tinga taksa kayo man tinga ikaroy kita pingi ikaroy pujo api ikaroy hakip okpik kasi mga ilang ito nang lew ikaroy Temna la antigi kima yung pinayak kolto ano yung kisan takkakuno wala isu magaroto nga ana ikrewila yung awak tiga ubalengin nang namat sida bitine makwale sunod ko ra ko rewot tasim nga taksa talo atingit ating itatwa ilituin nalo temna isu mayo ina At ano yung mga may siya mga
Thank you, Councillor Nuttall, for agreeing with me. Does anybody have any thoughts, any more thoughts or feedback? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Shepherd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My favorite is that same sign. I like the logo to be colorful. So for me, if the main part of the sign was dark blue, and this was white on the right with the colorful sign there and white text, I think that would look really nice. And then just use that for everything.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your feedback. Amy, go ahead.
Okay, then just for clarification, we're looking at a combination of that office building sign, but looking more like the non-public building sign next to it. So the main color is blue. On the right is the white with the colored logo. And that would then be for all of the signs, be it parks, public buildings, non-public buildings. And then I understand, my understanding is that we're required the 3 languages, and we have a suggestion to add the Roman orthography. And I would just like clarity, does the council agree to the Roman orthography and the sign as we just described? And would you like to make a recommendation to bring to council for those changes or for that, I guess for that concept, to move forward with that concept?
Thank you, Amy. Go ahead, Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I think that the Roman orthography is a good idea. I feel like that's a major change in the graphic, and maybe we should see it, or could see it before we made a recommendation. I don't know, or maybe we see it when we're making the recommendation, and then we can vote on it then. Something like that. I'd like to see it in the mock-up. That's a pretty big change to have a whole other line.
Thank you, Councillor Stevenson. Go ahead, Mayor Bell.
Thank you. Councillor Kumlik rang it up, but the addition of Inuit Noctun too. We are required by law to have 4 official languages. We should make sure through the language commissioner that we can put our signs in the 3 languages before we pay for them and put them up. Because typically the government, even the government, only uses the 3 languages here, 3 languages in. Exactly. So, but let's just make sure that that's still the case, and if not, then we'll have to add it. But I agree. I'd like to see another mock-up with the Roman orthography.
Thank you, Mayor Bell. Actually, Councillor Akumulik brought up Inuvialuktun, I believe, not Inuit. Was there somebody else? Councillor Shepherd, then Councillor Akumulik. Go ahead, Councillor Shepherd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And if it requires making English and French smaller to make that accommodate and make that design work, do it. Inuktitut should be the prominent language on there anyways. We need to shrink the others to make that happen. I'm totally in support of that.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. Go ahead, Councillor Akumulik.
Thank you. I think it depends on the translation from Inuktitut, reversing it to Roman orthography, because for example, for ball diamond, I would call it Aksarvik, place where you play ball. Aksarvik would have like 6 letters in it, but then if we want to use the Roman orthography, it would have 8 characters in it. So it depends on the translation, I think, whether we want it short or not. But all in all, if it comes out in Roman orthography, it's going to be longer. But it is what it is. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Akumulik. Go ahead, Mayor Bell.
Thank you. So I would make a motion to support the design that we have picked out, and that with the understanding that we are going to see a mock-up through email. And we'll have to. It won't be considered work. We've already approved it, but we will see it through email and be able to give feedback on the final thing there. But the project will be approved, and that's my motion.
Do you,
You got it?
okay, so Tammy got your motion. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Stevenson seconds. Okay, comments, questions, or concerns? Go ahead, Councillor Stevenson.
Just that mock-up will be nice because it will have the correct translations of an institute on it, right? So then we'll be able to see these with the correct syllabics as well.
Yes.
Thank you, Amy. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Okay, seeing none, can we vote? Everyone in favor? Great, thank you. Okay, and Amy has a little bit more for us. Go ahead, Amy.
Okay, thank you very much. So also in the signage theme, I did send an email around asking about names for 2 meeting rooms in the new City Hall, the 1085 building. So there are 2 meeting rooms in that building. One is on side A, the same side as the council chambers, and one is on side B, which is an area where there's the finance area and human resources and corporate services and so on. And we were considering naming those 2 rooms, and we are wondering if the council has any preference or suggestions for names. We sent around a couple of ideas in that email. But we're wondering if council would like to have input or to make that decision.
Thank you, Amy. Mayor Bell, go ahead.
Thank you. I think maybe that's what we should consult the public on. That might be the easiest way for those 2 rooms. That would be my preference.
Thank you, Mayor Bell. Any other thoughts or questions? Would you like to make a motion to that, or are we comfortable just directing staff to add that to the consultation? So, okay, so I think we're in agreement that in addition to consulting on renaming some of the parks around town, that the public will also be consulted on naming the 2 rooms in the new City Hall. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Mayor Bell.
Motion to adjourn.
I have Councillor Stevenson seconds. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.